Batman as we know him today first appeared in Detective Comics issue 27 in May of 1939. Superman had only just debuted a year prior, and the entire idea of the superhero was still being defined. At the time, comics were still in their golden age. Bright, pulpy tales filled with costumed heroes, gangsters, and science fiction oddities. Detective Comics before Batman was a collection of mystery and crime stories, but Batman's introduction immediately shifted its tone. Suddenly, readers weren't just solving cases, they were following a vigilante who blurred the line between law and vengeance. And while Batman famously drew the line at using guns, he apparently thought it was perfectly acceptable to adopt a 14-year-old circus acrobat who, mind you, was newly orphaned just a couple days prior, dress him in bright green spandex, and take him out on nightly patrols against mob bosses and psychopaths. It sounds absurd when you say it out loud, but that decision to bring in Robin transformed Batman from a lone, brooding figure into one half of one of the most iconic duos in comic history. This shift from a solo act to one half of a duo revealed something so simple, yet so fundamental about storytelling. As Aristotle once said, friendship is essentially a partnership. And in fiction, that partnership is often what transforms a character from good to unforgettable. That point didn't just stay in comics, it spread everywhere. And in most sports anime, it's basically a blueprint. And nowhere is that more clear than in Kuroko no Basket.
How could you say that with a straight face?
You shut your stupid mouth, mister! I'm your shadow.
Kagami Taiga is introduced as a fiery newcomer to Seirin High. Before returning to Japan, he lived in America, where he learned basketball in a completely different environment, fast-paced, physical, and overflowing with talent. He came back with one simple drive: to find stronger opponents and utterly surpass them. And who else to target but the generation of miracles? Kuroko Tetsuya, on the other hand, is almost his opposite. Kuroko was never the star player. In fact, he was the Phantom Six Man, a role so invisible that most people didn't even realize he existed. But that invisibility was exactly his weapon. Kuroko developed a style of play built on misdirection and quick passes. When they finally meet at Seiren, that contrast explodes into the story's central dynamic. Kagami sees Kuroko and immediately doubts him. Here's this soft-spoken, almost unimpressive guy claiming to be from the generation of miracles? It doesn't add up. But the first time Kuroko steps on the court, it clicks. He isn't there to shine. He's there to make Kagami shine brighter. His misdirection shifts the flow of play, and suddenly...
Hey!
I don't know if you have hidden talent or not, but from what I've seen so far, he wouldn't even begin to reach their feet. You can't do it alone. I've also decided. I'm only a shadow. But the stronger the light is, the darker the shadow, and the more it accentuates the brightness. I will act as the shadow to your light, and make you the best player in Japan.
And this is exactly what I find interesting about their dynamic. On paper, it's a pretty standard example of what you might call a Batman and Robin-esque partnership. The lone powerhouse is paired with someone who doesn't look like much, but who brings something to the table that changes everything. And if you break that trope down, you can actually see the same 5 steps playing out across countless stories. A self-sufficient protagonist is introduced. They seem strong, capable, and defined by independence. This is around the first few episodes wherein the protag's abilities, skills, or anything of the like are still getting introduced to the viewer, us.
やっとちゃんとコートで6人でバレーができるんだ。1回戦も2回戦も勝っていっぱい試合してるんだ俺たちは。
1回戦も2回戦も決勝も全国も。
Enter someone who, at first glance, doesn't belong. They might seem too weak, too naive, or simply incompatible with the protag. Their presence sparks skepticism, which is exactly the point. It makes us ask, why should this person matter?
トスミスドリブルは取られてない。でもそっちには誰も。レフトにいたはずなのに、マークしてたはずなのに。なんでそこにいる。
Soon, the partner reveals a skill, perspective, or quality that the character can't replicate. It may not look impressive on its own, but it fits perfectly into the character's blind spot, filling a gap that no amount of raw talent or genetics could cover. Through conflict, challenge, or a common goal in mind, the pair are forced to rely on one another. The hero learns that accepting this partner doesn't diminish their strength, it simply expands it, and their bonds become forged not by convenience but by necessity and growth. Together, they evolve into something greater than the sum of their parts. The contrast that once divided them becomes the glue that defines them, creating a duo that audiences recognize as iconic, not because they're the same, but because they're opposites that make each other whole. And once you see it, you start to notice this formula everywhere. In Haikyuu, Hinata's raw athleticism finds balance in Kageyama's precision and vision as a setter. In Slam Dunk, Sakuragi's reckless energy crashes against Rukawa's cold talent, forcing them both to evolve. Even outside sports anime, think of Naruto and Sasuke and pre-Shippuden, or Gon and Killua, the same DNA runs through their partnerships. The lone figure, the unlikely partner, the hidden complement, the trial, and finally, the duo. Now, I want to clear a common misconception when I say someone is a Robin of a duo. Being a Robin doesn't inherently mean playing second fiddle. It means stepping to someone's story at the exact moment they needed it the most, and becoming the part of them they didn't know they were missing. That's why these relationships endure. It's not about hierarchy or who's the main and who's the sidekick. It's about chemistry, the way two contrasting pieces collide and lock into place, forming something larger than either could manage on their own. It's a fundamental rhythm of storytelling itself, as I said earlier, from Holmes and Watson, to Bruce Wayne and Dick Grayson, to Kuroko and Kagami. The stories that resonate most often hinge on the moment someone thought they didn't need anyone. Until they did. Because at its core, the Batman meets Robin trope isn't really about Batman or Robin at all. It's about transformation. What happens when a character who thought they had everything figured out is forced to grow alongside someone completely different? We don't just root for these duos because they beat ass or solve crimes. We root for them because their partnership creates something neither could achieve alone. But if this parallel or trope is so common, why do we keep telling the same old story over and over again? If you strip it down, the lone figure meets unlikely partner dynamic is one of the oldest rhythms in storytelling. We've been pairing heroes with foils, complements, or companions since myth itself. Each time, the pattern works not because it's surprising, but because it delivers. Collision, contrast, and eventual cohesion. And every time it's retold, the shape shifts. Sometimes it's played for camaraderie, sometimes for tragedy, sometimes for everything else. But the skeleton remains the same. One force alone, another force introduced, and the transformation that comes from forcing them together. That's why the story never gets old. Because beneath the capes, the struggles, or the rivalries, it's really about the one truth we keep coming back to. Nobody becomes whole alone. So yes, it's a little ridiculous that Batman handed the kids spandex and told them to fight criminals, but it also might be the most important decision in comic history, because it gave us the blueprint for every duo that followed. And as long as we keep telling stories, that moment, Batman meeting Robin, will never stop echoing.